testimonies by Brandon and Pat. So maybe I don't know. Who wants to come up first or together? All right, let's welcome Brendan.
Hi everybody. I think it's my first time up here that's not around the workshop. But yeah, so I won't be going. I decided to do my kind of more so the matching testimony and then a bit about the blessing. So I'm not sure. I don't like. I think maybe 4 people in the room have like the full story. 5. You don't have the full story, but. Mainly because I only found out the full story like a month ago, so we'll get a bit into that. So it started when it started about 5 years ago. So it was when I was 16 turning 17, so I wasn't even of the matching age yet. Yeah, well, that kind of started before that as well. It's just whenever someone announced a match or going to get blessed, I would kind of like, it would be in my mind for quite a while until I finally kind of left it alone. But then David went to the true parents blessing, and then from then on it just stuck in my head the whole time. Like it would not leave my head. And so then I decided to look up some stuff to read about it, and I found this matching handbook. So I read that like a few times to kind of just figure out what's going on. And then one day my dad comes back from work and I'm just in the kitchen sitting around, and then just in my head it's just like, tell him you want to get matched, and I was just like, that's kind of ridiculous. And then like it just in my head for like half a minute straight, and then I decided to tell him that I want to be matched. And then so we talk about it, and then we start like I make a profile on, for the website and stuff. And for me, in my mind, I was like, okay, there's still things that I want to work on, so I'll probably just it'll probably happen in like a year or something. Like I'll probably get in contact with get in contact with family and stuff. But 2 weeks later, my dad contacted the family, and he's like, oh, you're gonna contact this family, and I was like, this is way too fast. I was like, but I guess I can get with it. But anyway, that didn't go through, and I was like. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then we kept on looking, and then I was so young at the time. It was just it was hard to find anybody that was advertising at that time. So we decided, all right, well, I was like, oh, we can just wait a year. I'm not old or anything. So. For me, it's kind of good. So wait a year, I can still work on some stuff, and then it didn't really matter that much to me. And then I think it was about 2 weeks later, I came from home from school, and I decided to have a nap. And then my dad comes home from work, and he wakes me up, and he's just like, "Oh, I found this. I contacted this family. I found this girl." The first thing came in my head, it's like, didn't we decide to wait a year? And I was like, sure, whatever. And then it ended up being Rena. So I decided, okay, we'll just go with it. And then a few weeks later, it was we decided, I messaged her. And then it was very, very slow, almost a message a week back and forth. And then after a while, when we started talking more and more, after a while I noticed she doesn't know that I'm talking to her with the intention of going to getting matched. And I was just I couldn't know for sure, but I was probably about 90% sure that she didn't know that that we're introduced for the matching. And then a year later, it was Christmas, and then it was I think it was around Christmas anyway. I was just kind of sitting around, and my mom was like, you have money, don't you? I was like, yeah. I was like, why don't you go to the Philippines and do the commitment ceremony? I was like, sure. So I was kind of the main like communication was between like my parents and her mom. So like through like so like from her mom we got the okay, so I just booked flights, and then it was very last minute, and then went to like the we went to Philippines, a commitment ceremony. I spent most of the time with the mom because she was like still in school, so that was kind of weird. She she always laughs about it and says that I was dating her mom at the time. I always freak out whenever she says that because it's so so weird, but it's not untrue, I have to say. No, but yeah, and then so we kept talking, and I did like at the commitment ceremony I did like confirm that I was introduced to her not for like as a matching candidate at the start. The way that she explained it is that her mom explained that I was a BC from Ireland who didn't have very many friends. She wanted her to talk to me so I could have more friends in the church. So so that was how that started. But yeah, and then we kept talking, and then about a year later, it was kind of like, for me it felt like the relationship was quite stagnant, and I felt like it wasn't really on my part. So after a while I kind of went to my dad and was just like, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. Like I want to stop. So then my dad, like, we talked, and my dad told like her parents, and then we decided to, like, just do some conditions, we'll like kind of go past, and then we decided to like continue, obviously. But yeah, and then I found out like a month ago that like Rena herself, she, like, I think just because like she was also like she's a year younger than me, so started even younger like than I did, and also the way that it was kind of communicated, it wasn't very clear. That she didn't she didn't feel that she was ready for the matching, so she wasn't kind of investing that much into it. Like so when I said this, she they kind of talked, and then she noticed that she didn't have anything against me. I mean, who could have something against me? So put down your hands. But so she decided to do some conditions, kind of and then to kind of work on it, and she just decided to kind of put more effort into it. But she said that her real turning point was when she came here to Ireland and kind of experienced the family and and Ireland, and she decided that this is kind of the right thing to do. So yeah, so after all that, we then got blessed 2 months ago, or a month and a half ago or something. If we can just go through the photos. So this was me with Rena, her parents, and then also her aunt and cousin, who came. This is actually my first time meeting the dads after 5 years. I was here at the blessing because he works in Japan and he doesn't really take that much time off. But yeah, it was nice. He's a nice guy. So we want to kind of go through the pictures, just kind of show them off, I guess. So there's the parents.
Woo! That's for me.
Yeah, not to say. This is kind of the whole family that was there. So her parents, my parents, and David. This is it's one of the sets that they had, many sets that they had to take pictures with. I guess with this I can talk a bit about the ceremony. So last year, we know that David and Roshi went to the blessing, and I watched the live stream, and it seemed like an absolute mess, and I was just kind of I was annoyed by it from hearing everything from them and also watching the live stream, that I had no expectations whatsoever for the blessing ceremony. I was just like, okay, we'll do this, like get it done, and then kind of like whatever. But I actually ended up really enjoying the ceremony. Like it was a lot cleaner this year. Even the European staff, they're just like, yeah, after last year everybody just complained like so much, just because like apparently like they kind of took like shoehorned a lot of things in that weren't passed like with the BFD. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I didn't like, probably the thing I enjoyed the most, I didn't think I would, was the musical, because it's just so long and just kind of doesn't have a point. But I didn't like, this one it wasn't that long, it didn't really have a point, it didn't make much sense, but I enjoyed the music. It was actually well crafted and I really liked it. And and yeah, so, and then for the actual blessing ceremony, as soon as there's like, okay, we're gonna start reviewing the vows, I just got really nervous for no reason whatsoever. It was just out of nowhere. I was just like, it was just so chill, and I was just like, and then we're gonna review the vows, and my heart just started pumping. I was like, what is going on? And then I was just like, and afterwards, Rena was like, yeah, it's like I noticed you were like shaking a lot. I was like, just because I was so nervous, and then. And afterwards, like when they said like, "Oh, you're now officially blessed," like I just felt so happy. I was like, it was so like out of nowhere, but I just felt so happy. It was like the only reason I can think is just because it was like 5 years in the making. Like it's like it was kind of like a big ramp up to it. But yeah, so yeah, that's what I have to say about the ceremony. There's still some more pictures. Show off some more. So that was afterwards, just in this round, like around the center. I'm gonna go to the next one. Some more around the center.
It's difficult with the rain. 'Cause it was like
yeah, it was raining like the whole time until until 10 minutes before we had to leave. So I was just like, I wanted pictures outside because I was just like, I saw some people taking pictures outside like from past years and stuff. So I was like, come on, and we just like ran around to different areas to try and get pictures in before we had to leave. This was like the buses were leaving, and it was just like, and it was,
between showers.
yeah, and then like the people were like, we're on the road taking pictures, and buses were trying to get past while people were taking pictures and stuff. Yeah, I think there's one more. I think it's just the official one. Okay, but yeah, just that one, which is the official one, which is my favorite one.
Woo!
But yeah, so yeah, that's about it. That's like the full.
And how about the Philippines?
In the Philippines, I didn't get any pictures from the Philippines.
How was the experience you were in the Philippines?
I mean, yeah, had fun. In the nice weather, swimming a lot.
So you would say you're not dating Venus' mom anymore?
I think I've moved on. So I prefer if no one would ever mention dating Venus' mom again.
Now we're all
No, but yeah, I think it's definitely paid off, I guess, the 4 years, and I think I think it would benefited both of us that it was like so long, because we were so young that we had a lot of time to kind of work on ourselves, to really be truly ready for it. And yeah, so I think it was definitely the best outcome. Yeah.
What's the plans now for the future?
She'll come over eventually. That's what I tell everybody, and that's all as far as I know as well. Thanks.
Okay. So we went on a cruise, right? And our children brought it because of the 40-year wedding anniversary. So we went on a Mediterranean cruise. And I didn't make any, I had no intention of witnessing or anything like that, because actually when you're on a cruise, you never see the people again. And even on the cruise, you might see them once and have a conversation, but then you don't see them. So, you know, I didn't have any intention of meeting anybody. And the first evening meal, we found out it's in the restaurant where you go, you know, you can go every time if you want to, where you get a waiter and you get fine dining, you know, the little meals with very posh and all that. So we went there the first night, and it turned out everyone was from Ireland on our table. So the way this cruise line did it, they put the Irish people together, and there were 6 of us on a table. And the one guy is a very big guy called Mike. He was born in Sheriff Street, and he was a construction person, and he's doing well in construction now. He's helping someone to run a business. So anyway, we met him the first night, and he thought these meals were a joke, you know, because they were so ridiculously small. Like, he ate the 3 courses, and he was like, oh, okay, then are we going to get anything to eat? So we said, we'd seen the pizza place upstairs, and there's a buffet where you can eat as much as you like. So we said, oh, come up and get a pizza, we'll show you the pizza place. And so we went and had the pizza, and while we were having the pizza, and I don't know how this conversation started at all, but he suddenly started telling us his wife was spiritual somehow, and he didn't really believe in it until one night in the bedroom, the 2 of them saw this orb come through the wall and pass by them and go out the other wall. And then he turned to his wife and said, did you see that? And then she said, yeah, I've been telling you, that sort of thing. So he then saw this orb. So then he was sort of spiritual. And he's telling us this stuff. Then he told us when his son was 5 years old, he had one son, and when he was 5 years old, the son said, I was sent to your family. I was specially chosen, your family was chosen. I was sent to your family. This is a 5-year-old child. And I'm going to be, I can't remember his exact words, but the army of God or some army. And it turned out to be God's army, and it's already on the earth. So his son at 5 told him this, that he was chosen. So they had a little bit of confusion thinking, you know, is he reincarnated, whatever. Anyway, they didn't tell, it turns out the son was now working, you know, religiously, and he was going to be... He's going to be a lay person, maybe working in prisons. Like they were sort of, they hid some of the stuff. And we didn't say much. I don't think we said much. Anyway, the next night, so we go to dinner, waiting to meet him, and he never came again to the table because there wasn't enough food. So he was obviously up the help yourself buffet all the time. So I was always looking for him and his wife, and my memory's not great for faces, and I was saying, Halvard, tell me if you see them, and where are they, you know, and his wife was really nice, June. And I spent, you know, a lot of the cruise looking for them, never saw them. I mean, it's a lot of people on the cruise. So anyway, on the last day, we were in Dubrovnik, and we came out of Dubrovnik, and Halvard said, look who's over there. And I said, what, where? You know, I can't see them. Anyway, there he was, outside Dubrovnik. We were coming out, they were going to go in. So I think they went everywhere later than we did, even the meals. We would be there at 7, I think they went at 9, that sort of thing. Because we were going to the buffet as well, like upstairs. Okay, so then I saw him, so I thought, okay, this is it, my last chance. Tomorrow we're flying home, you know. So I went over to him, and I wanted to get a contact and address or something. I only knew his name was Mike. And I said, can I have your email address, or I've got something really important to tell you. And he said, and he didn't give me his email address. He said, I said, oh, we can meet and I can tell you. He said, I'll meet you tonight in the restaurant, in the buffet. I said, what time? He said, 7. So I got there at 7 o'clock, and we ate our meal. Halvard went back to the cabin, gave up, and I sat there till 9 o'clock, 2 hours, and then eventually they walked in. So then I told them, you know, I said that basically the time of celibacy is over, because I asked them, is your son like living a celibate life? And I said that I've got to tell you this because you don't need to be celibate anymore. And then I gave, like, you know, Four Position Foundation, Jesus should have married, Second Coming, now Messiah's on the earth, whatever. And So I told them everything, and I told them about return in resurrection, because of they a bit confused about why their son said, I was sent to your family and all this. So basically, I told them, you know, most things, and I still didn't have, so and so I said, oh, your son can marry, you know, this sort of thing. That was my end of the story. And the mother, June, said, oh, so that's what you needed to tell her. I said, yeah. So anyway, then we were getting the same flight the next day, and I was still desperate for a contact, some way to contact. And I didn't know if he was holding back. Oh, and it turned out in that meal, he told me more of their situation. His son was actually, you know, educated in Maynooth as a priest. Like Dermot Martin, the Archbishop of Dublin, has chosen them to go to be educated in Rome. So his son was like this priest, Catholic priest. They knew Dermot Martin really well, the Archbishop of Dublin. And so all this is, the connection to my testimony is Mike Balcombe, Dr. Balcombe. You know, he talks about you can meet people who maybe, you don't have to bless, how many, we've got to bless 420, 30. You don't have to go one by one. If you meet a key person, you can, maybe they will do it for you, you know, the easy way. So anyway, so this guy, so we know his son's in the Catholic Church, and and the next day I saw him at the airport, and I just said, oh, what's your surname? And he told me his surname. Anyway, I won't say if it's, I don't know if we're being...
Where it's recorded, but we post it.
Anyway, so anyway, that was it. We said goodbye. I knew his surname, and I can actually find him, and I know where they live, sort of thing. And anyway, that's that. And since that time, we've been so involved with Ellie's wedding, so we didn't really, you know. But I found, which I know the construction company, I know the church his son is in. I don't want to be what is it, a troll or something? I have to be careful. Stalker, yeah, you know, so I have to be careful not to stalk. Anyway, that's my first thing. So then I get on the flight coming home, and on the flight we were separated because all the cruise people somehow got booked in late. So I was in the middle of these two guys, and I was already sitting in my seat, and one guy had to get to the window, and he only said to me, excuse me, can I get by or whatever, but I knew that he was a really nice person. I actually don't know why at all, because he didn't say anything, he just excused me. But I knew that he was a really nice person. But I don't like talking to people on a flight. It was a 3-hour flight from Venice. And if you start a conversation, like, you've got to talk like for 3 hours. So I wasn't going to start any conversation on the flight, right? So anyway, I was getting to landing, coming down, you know, there's Ireland. And I was like, God, you couldn't say something, you know, like, at least ask, you know, like, I just like being pushed, like, say something. So I just said, are you staying in Ireland? And are you going to stay in Ireland? He said, no, I'm off to New York. And he said, I was on a cruise with my grandmother. He was only like 20, whatever, 5, 4, I don't know. He says, on a cruise with my grandmother, someone let her down at the last minute and dropped out. So he went on a cruise with his grandmother. And I thought, well, that's nice. And then I said, oh, I was on a cruise. My 4 kids bought us this cruise, and because we've been 40 years blessed. And I said, and I don't know, then I started saying they all went to a mass wedding. I don't know why. I actually can't think, like, how did I actually say that? Like, how did it come into the conversation at all that my 4 kids went to a mass wedding? And he was so interested. He was writing everything down on his mobile, you know, flight zone, whatever, you know. So he was taking notes on what I was saying. So 4 kids went to mass wedding. Where was it held? I said, some in Korea, one in New York. And he was going to New York. He lived in New York. And so, yeah, he was writing everything down. And he was so interested in this blessing, this wedding thing. And then, what did I say to him? Then I thought, I can't dominate the conversation like this. I'm talking too much. So I said to him, what do you do? And he said, I'm a film director. And he'd made 2 movies. And his name was Daniel Robbins, and he's got 2 movies, and he lives in New York. And I said, oh, my daughter's in a movie. So conversations like this. So he was taking notes. Abigail Iverson, the actors. He said, the actors, you know, movie. And he said, oh, I know that. That was a comedy, wasn't it? And he wrote that down. And then just as we, you know, landing in Dublin, I thought I was just getting off. And then another thing, which I never think to say to anybody, I said, oh, you should read my book. And he said, what's that? What's that? And then it says, Following the Messiah, Patricia Iverson. He said, is it on Amazon? I said, yeah, it's on Amazon. So that was really, and oh yeah, and so then he went off to New York. And I found him on Facebook and everything. And I told Mike Balcom when he was here, and he said, oh, you should invite him to see Mother in November in New York. And I said, okay. And I went on to the American website and saw the True Mother details, and there was like an advertisement for True Mother in New York. So I sent him a Facebook message saying, oh, check out, you know, this, see True Mother in New York. So he replied straight away and said, oh, Patricia, nice to hear from you. I'll check it out, and maybe I'll be invited to a mass wedding. That's what the message he sent back to me. So he really, he seemed like he really would like to, you know, go to a mass wedding for some reason. So anyway, so that was another film director. And just the last thing I'll mention is the Ellie's and James' marriage ceremony with Tribal Messiah. We invited the Norwegians over, like Halvor's brother and his wife and their 2 sons. And Vera, the wife, she was very impressed. And she noticed when Ellie refused, she asked the waiter, is this alcoholic, when they took the Prosecco round, the very first one. And she said, oh, Ellie, it's okay, it's not. She was like watching Ellie with this Prosecco, checking, it's not alcohol, is it? And she knew it wasn't. And then she was asking, oh, where does James get all these groomsmen? Where did he meet these 5 groomsmen? And I said, oh, the church, you know. And then she was also like, all the people in the room, are they all from the church? So she was very impressed, you know, by this whole thing. And yeah, it was a good sort of witness. So that was my 3 little things there. Okay.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks, Brandon, for sharing with us. Okay, so going to, sorry, I forgot. What's the next slide?